Hello everybody, welcome to night shift number 51. We are rapidly approaching number 52, and I hear there's 52 weeks in a year. Jason, is that correct?
I can confirm that is correct. It is 52 weeks. I have to say though, Dan, I try to tell myself, go into the show today, I know we're casting together, I'm gonna try to stop, glazing you, but your hair's looking good, you're like freshly trimmed, you're like ready for like a weekend out, man.
Yeah. I also like moved the camera, so because before the camera was like up here, so I couldn't like look at this. It was a mess. It was really stupid. But anyway, I'm trying my best, Jason. I've got to look good out here. We've got this night shift show and everything. We've got to treat it seriously, and I'm excited. We've got some more roster madness. I feel like there's always more often than there's not some kind of roster switcheroo. Obviously, I think the top of the line one is probably OCs, but I think we can go into our schedule and see what games we have coming up today. And we can maybe tease at some of these because, OCs, I always feel like, Jason, I don't know about you, but I always feel like, if you're going to go and play in NA and you're from EU, eventually the time zones, like it sounds nice, but the time zones will kind of kill you. But perhaps we should talk quickly about this qualifier match first. Leviathan 2-0ing Silence. Did you manage to catch that one?
No, I unfortunately did not, but I know Silence also had a revamped roster as well. With Fremont coming out of Leviathan, he has taken up home in the Silence team for now. I say for now because who knows when it happens or what happens with EU and rosters as well. But they move on with a 2-0 here for Leviathan, which is a pretty clean sweep. And hopefully Sonic Sniper, who has joined the team, has been able to elevate them to the next level, because Leviathan have really struggled to hit a honeymoon phase. But going up against Abrahams here to kick things off, I mean, like former teammates, now rivals up against each other. I mean, Empty Dreams on Abrahams, now he's on Leviathan. It's on a Sniper as well. Demov, like it feels like almost everyone in the Leviathan squad has been on Abrahams at one point.
Yeah, it's kind of a revolving door situation, but it's going to be interesting because I feel like with some of these roster changes, the Abrahams-Leviathan opening matchup could be a bit of a feisty one. Obviously, going up against Buff Enjoyers, whoever manages to win that one. And then for NA, again, NA's also been very interesting from a roster perspective here. Jason, any standouts for you? Any hot ticket items that people should make sure to tune in for?
Well, I mean, I think the big one here is obviously Popper's Pupils coming out with a win in the Deadlock event that just happened over the weekend, winning out on first place. I think they took the title over Ido's team at the very end. But then you have like Burwood Clock coming in with some new players, and by new players I mean mostly DMB on the roster as well, which is previously a melee, or I mean he's been on quite a few teams as well. And then of course Melee Creeps, after their like dominant victory just a few weeks back, they come back into the mix, but they have to field a sub here with which I believe is going to be Poshy Pop coming in for OCs. Now, not sure if it's a permanent addition or temporary addition. I would say most likely temporary, but I mean Poshy, he's tried and tested. He's been with the Melee Creeps camp before. And also Crisana 14 coming in with 10 gifted as well here. Not a stream that goes by that Crisana 14 doesn't bless us with their presence.
And you know what? It's kind of sick because we have a star-studded amount of players on all these different teams, but we also have a star-studded roster of patrons. You just mentioned Crisana, who's been gifting, and it's time for us to pay tribute, to pay respect here, Jason, to all of you lovely people in the Patreon here for Night Shift. And I mean, it's just a growing list, just bit by bit, more and more people are chipping in to support the show, which we greatly appreciate. It's such a crazy type of show. I mean, what show has been going for essentially like 2 years before the game's even out? I don't know, but we have all of the believers here, Jason.
We do, and like every single week here on the Night Shift, I always have to point out one person in particular, a random person I'm going to choose. And actually, it's going to go towards someone that's, I guess, named one of my favorite fruits. I'm going to give a big shout out here to one of our $5 Night Shift residents, a pear. I don't know how you feel about pears, Dan, but definitely one of my favorite fruits out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm indifferent to pears. They got
to be nice. They can't be hard and crispy. They have to be like juicy and like a little bit soft, like just slightly overripe. And then I'm like all for it.
All right, I respect that. As long as you're not one of those people that are like really perverted into like the squishy business, I can't handle that. But with that said, thank you again to all of you guys. We have some really exciting matches coming up here, as Jason already highlighted. Some of these swapperoos, these changes, OCs coming back. into EU again after a very short stop in NA. I kind of wonder how many EU players are going to sort of like. It's so funny, Jason, because we had the roster mania that was limited, like these pools of players limited to your respective region, and I felt like people just got bored of that. So then now they're like, okay, well, can I just do another region as well? It seems to be kind of an addiction that the players here in Deadlock have to just switching, playing on as many teams as possible.
I mean, I know there's a lot of like Oceania players who want to play like on NA teams, they get into night shift as well. And I think the ping's a little bit more difficult for them, and also the time zones as well. But, Dan, just to quickly bring it back, I mean, obviously we talked about our Patreon supporters and how crazy the amount of support that we get is, but there's a lot of interesting people out there that really pay attention quite heavily to the show. And now I mentioned earlier, you looked quite primal. I think that was maybe off air, looking pretty ready to go, daring and dapper for the weekend. But someone's been paying attention to you every single show. Morag, you can see on the screen, loves how primal you look. Now you say, oh, okay, cool, that's just like one time thing, and that's not a big deal. But if we look back on the history from Morag, I think maybe we found an alt account of yours. Morag's been paying attention week in and week out, taking screenshots. If we can roll that here for you, Dan, and get your thoughts.
That's the AI me. Oh my god, there's different looks. Hotel me's having some fun, man. It was like 4 a.m. there. I was definitely losing it. Damn, look at that. It should go into the modeling book, Jason, perhaps.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you got like a blue steel in there. I mean, you're looking handsome as ever. The hair looks always perfect and coiffed. But Morag has really been pinpointing you. I mean, we have a lot of like awesome viewers out there. I think it was TR who likes to do some fan art of us as well, where they just morph our faces into crazy things. But it's not crazy though, Dan.
What's that? What's that, Jason?
The amount of support we're getting here from Intel for the Intel Gamer Days. They're bringing up our prize pool up to 4K every single week for the next 4 weeks of time to celebrate the Intel Gamer Days, lasting until September 13th, elevating our prize pool. And on today's show for EU as well, we have Curry supporting us, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But it's awesome to have Intel coming back, bringing in some new sponsors with them as well with Curry's.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's exciting times. I'm going to kick off the excitement by looking at the rosters here, see what we're doing. What are we going to be casting here today? We've got, of course, Abraham's up first. Here you can see lovely Intel Gamer Days and Curry's logo at the top right there, supporting us, as Jason mentioned. And you can see at the bottom right, Sanya Sniper out OCs in Fremok as a sub. But I mean, this is interesting. I mean, OCs, Sanya Sniper. I mean, I feel like it makes a lot of sense, Jason. We saw OCs, stretching a little bit out of his kind of M1 dominance when he was doing that little bit of a tenure in the NA region. So we know that he's a pretty flexible player, much like Sanya Sniper is this P1 player that is also quite flexible. So it feels like it's one of the most natural swaps you could get.
Well, OC is what he didn't really post about it in this way, but I'm pretty sure he was saying that. He's saying like North America's too easy, man. I need to go back to EU where there's a lot more challenge for them. He gets on melee creeps and they start to dominate. Also to confirm here, Fremok is subbing in today. It's Shark who cannot play. So Fremok, who played over in Silence in the qualifiers, will be replacing Shark. But as you talk about OCs and Sonic kind of being interchangeable, what worries me though is that Arzo's kind of the M1 player for the team. And in my head, OCs is still the M1 player for teams normally. So I'm kind of curious with Sonya, who's been the flexible player, is OCs going to be flexing, or is it Arzo flexing? How are they going to slot in OCs? But more importantly, how are they going to work with OCs to make the team better? And I think we've seen in the past for OCs on Leviathan, he depended a lot on side to make the call in, to let him know where's safe, where's not safe, so he can position himself to really unleash the power that he has. So I'm just really curious, with the amount of time they've had to work with him, how is this team going to come out the other side?
Yeah, I do wonder. I would imagine, I would like to see OCs just sort of slotting into exactly what Sanya was doing and not sort of messing too much with whatever Arzo has going on over there. But I'll be curious to see if this is also a reimagining of some of the roles overall, because that's always a possibility in Deadlock. When you get new players in, new things become possible. But speaking of which, we can move over to Leviathan, who have been consistently, qualifying through, making it to this challenging matchup. Not quite there so far, week in, week out, to be, I think, consistently up against, whoever's, in the exalted seat of the winner from the previous week, which is usually Buff Enjoyers. But perhaps this week, Jason, we'll see a marked improvement. Overseas Demov, Irizumi, Empty Dreams captain, Sanya Sniper coming in, Fremok going out. I mean, this is a really stunning roster in terms of the name value.
Yeah, and obviously, like, Sanya does bring another level to the team that they can utilize. But the problem, Dan, that we've seen week in and week out is they just not really found their identity as a team yet. They've had some they've had like one okay performance that I can think of since Dimov has joined this crew, and yet they've been having swaps ever since then. They're not able to like unleash the individual power that everyone has, and Dimov, who kind of was the best, like voted the best player of 2025, has looked like a shadow of his former self. And I do wonder, when will he ever be back to level, or can he even get back to the level?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And I totally agree with you that Leviathan, especially with Dimov, I think that it's kind of hard to know what to expect. And I think but the expectations are kind of set high. And so you're kind of left with this kind of weird feeling after seeing some of the matches where you're like, I know that the potential's there and they're not reaching it. And I'm just not sure exactly what the answer is. But, they've had a week to kind of figure that out. So we'll have to, see exactly how the draft plays out. And maybe, that will give us some hints, some clue, some direction as to exactly what they're thinking and whether there has been some changes. Because Dimov is a very versatile player, but like you say, you kind of want him to be in the position where he can have the most impact on the game.
I see him as very similar, at least in the past, to Hoot. I know we talk about Hoot a ton, and I swear we talk about him even when he's not playing. But him and Hoot had like a similar role when we looked back at him over the course of the last like 2 years. But I think for me, like Dimov hasn't really filled into the role that Hoot plays. Dimov still tries to play these like standout heroes instead of playing a little bit more selflessly, which I don't think even saying selflessly is the correct term that I want to use. It's kind of what the team wants him to be, but it seems like the team hasn't really put him in a position where he can excel just yet. And I'm hoping that's the change we see to Leviathan. But I think the problem is for either of these two teams, with some big changes like this coming in, I don't really have high expectations for them going up against Buff Enjoyers, who have not made roster changes in a very long time and got over that hump of a loss streak after 2 weeks when Zergy joined.
And you know what? Something that makes things a little bit more complicated too is just the first pick, the draft, the meta. It's ever evolving under our feet right now. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about every single week with respect to that. And we got the Moan Krill coming up here, the 1v1 to decide who gets to have that coveted pick and our first pick priority and instant parry. Okay, so we got our fancy graphics allow us to understand together on 8 rounds is the one on the Hidden King, and on the opposite side of things, Leviathan have
just Al.
Al. Yeah, I was gonna say
good old Al for Leviathan. We haven't seen him be rostered just yet, but this is his moment. This is his time. But he got parried right away. He got parried again at the end.
Yes.
Well, maybe Al's career in Deadlock is coming to a close here.
It kind of got sat down a bit there by Together. Okay. Together, someone who I use a lot of his builds, I gotta say. He's got a lot of builds up there. Very, very helpful. So, shout outs to Together and Listic as well. Always pretty solid. I guess for the characters I tend to play the most, I've been playing a lot of Billy recently. I gotta say, Jason, I feel like Billy's a pretty... If you want to win games in ranked, I feel like Billy's pretty important.
Yeah, very important. As for me, I've been just kind of slamming down some standard queue games, trying to get my hero pool up a little bit. I think it's around like 10 to 12, if I remember correctly, for ranked right now. But I've been playing some Yamato, some Drifter. I'm on that Drifter hype train because it's actually being quite fun to play as of late. Even some Mo in there. But I found out, as we find out in these pro games, obviously my skill level doesn't help. That Mo doesn't really do much when you get into the late stage of the game when everyone's grouped up, unfortunately. But what I am curious about going into this McGinnis. Where's the priority on McGinnis going to be today? Because McGinnis stonks have been going up and up and up and seem to have no signs of stopping right now.
Yeah, we've seen what was it, like 60% win rate or something in ranked? I think I saw. I'm not sure what ranks that was for, but definitely up there. So Pocket's gonna get banned, somewhat expected. Do we see the Doorman ban? Doorman's still, I think, very, very highly prioritized on the bans, or is it McGinnis? Right? Is that where we are at right now?
Well, do you think McGinnis is first pick worthy? That's the question. Because normally you would probably expect Billy to be first picked here. Then you leave up things like Mirage. You leave up things like McGinnis as well to be chosen. What we're going to see, I think, out of Abraham's is most likely just going to be a Billy. Because as you mentioned before, if you want to win, Billy has a very good chance of allowing that to happen.
Let's start breaking shit.
But he's just great at everything, man. He's just good at literally everything. Good gun damage, got good spirit damage, tanky, can initiate, he's got good team fight with the chain gangs, has the ability to run away with the rising ram to pursue. There's just so much that Billy has to offer. So Mirage coming in as a first pick there for Leviathan. I wonder what we'll see that followed up with. Does that surprise you, Jason?
Not too much, honestly. I think where we've seen Mirage kind of settle into the meta, he's like a pretty good second pick if you're not going to take him first, which you ideally want when there's a Billy up. It's more about like the second pick is what I'm curious about.
There you go.
And there's the McGinnis. So we kind of wonder, where's McGinnis going to be valued today? And top 3.
Top 3. Yes. Okay. So what's the response then? I'm curious if there's any and I'm always interested at the end of the show when we kind of get the overview of how the pick priority has shifted. But there we go. I feel like that might be one of the things I'm talking about here. Has Lash risen in value, coming out and, used a lot in more of a gun capacity as well of late. So really interesting to see him pick second there.
Interesting enough too, because like that could easily be an OC's hero. Like we've seen like Sonya play him as like a gun kind of, not necessarily a carry, but like a gun hero. OC's can definitely play Lash, but I think we've seen in the past as well. So there's that kind of flexibility within the team. I think the only like scary one is that Shark's not here, which I would imagine be like another player you could rotate specifically for the Lash too. But I'm also more looking towards Fremont. What is he going to be playing in this con? Because we're used to seeing him on like Shivs and even Silvers and have some really standout games, but he kind of has to fill the role of Shark, which I think can go his way with the pool we've seen Shark put out the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's I also like that we get to see Holiday coming in with a higher priority as well, especially given that you have Lash here and Holiday. I feel like we talk a lot about like the tempo off of the early lane and just like really trying to set yourself up well for the mid game dominance. I think Abraham's kind of have that with Lash and Holiday. I'm more interested now in what they're going to get in the back end of the draft for trying to dominate the early laning phase and to make sure that they can have a mid game where they have the pressure and there's a lot of heroes there that you might prioritize that have really strong poke. Apollo I think has been just consistently like very good in that respect. Anything you're looking for here?
The patrons are lucky to have someone like
that's the Apollo
for them.
It's like you asked me, but you already knew. You knew what was coming. You knew it was going to be Apollo. You just put me in this weird spot now. I think everything you said for Apollo makes sense. And I think it's a pretty good addition here for the poke. I think what Leviathan said I'm looking for is, what are they going to follow up this wall with? Because like the wall is such a good tool to just separate players. And then the later the game goes on, like obviously the more power you're going to have, but you're all about that early game presence with McGinnis pushing down these Guardians very early to get the early control. But do Leviathan, I mean, if it was buff enjoyers, I would be speaking a little bit differently, but do they want necessarily that like early pressure unless they're grouping up and invading together? Because with the Holiday and Lash together, that's already very scary. A Drifter can see you coming from pretty far away as well and expect you to be in these positions. I do kind of worry about like the early Guardians for Leviathan. How are they going to turn that into a stronger mid game against the team that has Holiday and Lash who are going to excel pretty well there?
Okay, we get the Bebop. So that's really nice, in terms of the early lane control and so on. It seems like the only bad thing I've seen that happens at this level of play with Bebop is if Bebop gets kind of locked down into a lane. We saw that last week. I think happened to Goober. I think Goober got kind of like locked down in the NA portion of the show on Bebop and didn't really hit the key kind of like gang timings. But okay. We haven't seen Paige in a while here.
Yeah, that's Paige. Wow. You know how we have normally in like little stats there, we show like the amount of picks that's happened over the last few weeks. Yeah, nothing. Or 50, 49, 48, nothing. I'm pretty sure you can go back like 4, 5, or maybe like 12 more night shifts and there would be nothing there as well for her. So that's interesting to see her come into the mix here for Leviathan. So clearly something they have planned and something they have prepared. And to be fair, like a wall into the captivating read can be a very good shutdown mechanic, as well as like the hook. I mean, I think one thing that she offers with her rallying charge is that you can prevent anyone from Abraham's coming in to assist someone who gets hooked in or get walled off. So I can see the potential of that, but I'm still worried about them lacking a little bit of damage here on their team.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I do agree. I think that one of the downsides with McGinnis is that you want her to be able to play aggressively and to really pressure lanes, but one of the things that really sucks is kind of getting out. McGinnis can be very susceptible to getting ganked. Her mobility is very bad. And what was really dirty we saw last week is when you have Doorman and McGinnis, because Doorman obviously can provide just a super easy escape option with the doors. So I do wonder if, as you're saying, Paige can help to provide some of that stabilizing force around McGinnis and ensure that those pushes are going to be really, really difficult to deal with. But yeah, really interesting. Can't wait to see what the build is with Paige, let alone just the fact that Paige is being played here. What is the ultimate goal? This is the best one though, Jason. Who do you have?
Oh man, I just want to outright say Abrahams, but then I see McGinnis. and I see that little bandana as a hairband, and I just don't know anymore. The look in her eyes says like, we can do this. We can win.
Yeah.
I think my heart tells me Abrahams, because I see them as the better team right now, especially with OCs on the roster. I find it really hard for them to be beaten. But my brain's Abrahams, my heart is Leviathan. Let me change how I was trying to say that.
Well, I have to say, what's interesting with Abrahams is that they have Geist and Ivy, right? So the D push there, and you've got these AoE abilities that'd be very helpful for dealing with with pressure from McGinnis. And I think that definitely seems like it's going to be something that's could be quite challenging to deal with, but they have the options, I think, from defensively to do that. And I'm just like trying to think of the early lane, like who wins the early lane. Like, do you have a sense as to who you prefer there? I feel like both teams have like good options.
I think it should be Leviathan early, but Abraham's late. I think take it. The fact that you can fly in together into the back lines to just chain gang them and just kind of cripple the entire setup that they're looking for, I think it's gonna be really hard to deal with. Then you have Arzo being just amped up by the 2 out of Ivy, the Watcher's Covenant. So it's gonna be very hard. Or sorry, the Kutsu Connection has been renamed. It's been a long time since I've played Ivy, but that's gonna be a lot of damage coming out of Arzo for sure. That it's gonna be something you're gonna have to deal with. And it doesn't matter really how tanky you're gonna be either. He's just going to shred you down. So I think the later the game goes, the tougher time Leviathan will have.
Yeah. What about that mid game though? Do you feel like Leviathan take off in the mid game, or do you think Leviathan is still like strong in the mid game? Like, is it going to be that Abrahams have to like get through a difficult early laning phase, have to get through a maybe even more difficult mid phase, and if they can do that, they're in a good spot? Or do you think their mid game is as competitive?
I think early game, it favors Leviathan in my head. Like I'm fully expecting like the Bebop pressure to be tough to deal with. I'm expecting the McGinnis to be really tough to deal with as well. The pressure you're going to apply and those early Guardian takes. And then I'm looking for Leviathan to start running around in the early to mid game, grouped up in the enemy jungle, looking to facilitate what their comp can do in the mid game. But I think if Abrahams don't allow Leviathan to have a strong early game, their mid game's dead for Leviathan. And it's going to be completely Abraham's side. So it seems like almost a gamble to me for Leviathan that if you're going to play this kind of composition, you need to have that strong early start.
This is so interesting because I mean, Leviathan have like really good players, and we talked about how we look at the draft and see kind of who's playing what and kind of what that might tell us about how the direction might be changing for the team if they're going to make some corrections, because they're really dangerous in if they figure that out. So this should be a really interesting game. I like their options in terms of pressure, Jason, because you've got Mirage, who can really do a great job at split pushing. You've got obviously the sheer threat and presence for split pushing as well with McGinnis and I suppose Page. I think Apollo's also really nasty because Apollo's really, really powerful in terms of diving around objectives. That's something that we're going to be focusing on insofar as the objective play is concerned. So that's another option they have. Bebop, obviously the roam from Bebop and the capacity to get the invade on the jungle. If they do get the early lane is a win for Leviathan, they're going to want to translate that into that mid-game jungle pressure. And Bebop is like so good at doing that, as well as Apollo. So I feel like Leviathan from the draft, I like that. I feel like they might be set up well. So I'm super curious if Abrahams can hold on, Jason, because I think one thing that we've always talked about with Abrahams is that they are like always have been one of the best teams at really losing well and slowing you down until it's their moment, and then they'll just steal the game away.
I mean, I think for me, Abrahams is one of the best. I think the best early game team in EU. Like even Buff Enjoyers struggled with them quite a few times, especially thinking back to the past. The problem for Abrahams, though, is they kind of get overwhelmed when it comes to the mid game to late game, where like Buff Enjoyers is able to outplay them. So I don't know, playing an early game comp that's really dependent on having a strong early start is, I feel like, very difficult to do against Abrahams. But I mean, it's McGinnis, man. Like the thing is, like we can analyze everything in the world, but the fact that have McGinnis here early on is still going to be such a wild card and has so much potential for the team. And overseas, to me, I would still say is the best Bebop in EU. Like the hooks he hits are nasty. If he can continue to do so, like I wouldn't even be surprised to see like a Veil Walker come online for him, maybe for Tass as well. But like going back to the later stage of the game for Leviathan, they have great sustain with McGinnis. Like the amount of healing you can do with their Medical Spectre is crazy. But the problem with that, obviously Rally Cry as well, or Rally Charge out of Page. But the one problem with that is that to use that heal, you have to stay close and grouped. And that's exactly where Abrahams wants you. There's so much AoE that they have. The barrels can connect to multiple people. The chain gang, the death slam. if you group up for a heal, you're just playing right into Abraham's cards. And that's what kind of worries me in the later stages if we get to that point here for Leviathan.
I actually kind of think Leviathan might win this. So Demov is, I would assume, on Apollo, right? And I think that's Demov is really, really great on Apollo. Like it's kind of similar to Yamato, right? It's a Spirit Burst hero that's got amazing pursuit. And I actually think Paige and McGinnis will 100% be together, given the fact that Paige is, I forget what it's called now, but her shield gives increased rate of fire, right? So that's going to be like just devastating on, which is if you add that onto McGinnis.
Plot armor.
Plot armor, right, of course.
They changed the names. Yeah.
But yeah, that on McGinnis's gun is just going to be ridiculous in the early laning phase in terms of like that plus monster rounds for McGinnis. McGinnis is going to just destroy the troopers and be able to apply massive pressure. So here we go, guys. Abrahams versus Leviathan, first match of the day here for the EU night shift, number 51 here for the Intel Gamer Days. And Curry's sponsoring our show, returning to the night shift. So welcome return to them, and we're gonna find out the answers, Jason. I felt like we were on the draft screen forever.
Yeah, we're in early days, right? In Deadlock here, and hopefully one day we get the players to ready up quickly, finish up the draft quickly, so we can hop straight to the game. Because that's what people want to watch, right? They don't want to see us talking. They don't want to see me glazing you up anymore. That happens every week. They just want to see the gameplay as we're finally dropping, as you mentioned. And so we'll be treated to a Geist and a Ivy in the mid lane with a Lashing ability in the right-hand side and a Drifter and Holiday in the left lane up against a Bebop and a McGinnis. So we're not going to have the Paige McGinnis. It's Bebop McGinnis together. And to be fair, if you hook someone through and then you wall them off, that can be a very dangerous combo.
Totally agree. There's so many options here in terms of those combos. So it's going to be really fun to see how it all plays out. And I suppose, I can respect the Paige Abrams. I'm a little bit disappointed not to see the Paige McGinnis, but I will accept this. And I think with Leviathan, and I think in general, it feels like, and I'm curious in your thoughts, it feels like if you've got McGinnis, the McGinnis has to be winning the lane. Like it feels like that's kind of almost a must.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be shoving the lane, and that's like super important. And I think this lane swap actually of Abraham's is very smart because they're throwing over two heroes that can do a lot of AoE damage and clear waves extremely fast. So it makes it very difficult for McGinnis to get those early guardians that you're looking for when you lock in this hero.
I'm pretty excited. We've already got the extended mag here for just never-ending pressure and shooting, and like honestly, how diabolical is this lane? It's already can be challenging to be up against this nasty Bebop. Nice placement there of the turret as well. Let's try to give it some cover and allow it to create some damage. But we also get a preview there, as I mentioned, that of the Geist bombs, which will be very important overall. Okay, Geist might be stuck here. Okay, wall goes down. This is a very dangerous territory. How are you going to get out of this one? Arzo is going to take a lot of damage there. So really nice trade here for Leviathan, and that's just exactly what they want. Oh, they diving for this.
Okay, that's a really big dive coming through because Demov actually rotated around from the mid lane to make this one work. So they kind of saw the lane swap happen, and their response to that was just get really aggressive and throw a rotation in to get an early kill so they can actually put some pressure onto that tower. The problem is they've lost out on the right-hand side, as we can see. There's not on one player, and just leaving Abrams all to himself, played by Captain.
It's so interesting because maybe some people think McGinnis is kind of like a little cheesy at the moment, but I just like honestly love this draft from Leviathan overall, just kind of theoretically how it should play out on paper, but also I'm also rooting for Leviathan insofar as, hey, this is a team that has been struggling to find their footing so far. I think we mentioned that in the roster graphic when that was on screen, that hey, we would expect to see a lot more things from them. And I don't know, Jason, I'm kind of rooting for them to have figured some stuff out.
See, this is what I worry about though, is the one week that I can think of that we saw a good performance out of Leviathan, it was Captain playing Mo, and they also had a Holiday, and it was really great in the beginning, but it does seem like somewhat of a cop-out to depend on like a Mo and Krill to have good games, and I don't want to see the same thing happen when it comes to McGinnis, where if you don't have McGinnis you can't win kind of thing. So I think I want to see something deeper within the team still, even if they do have a win here, that they can then do it without really strong heroes at the time, or heroes that are kind of one-dimensional.
Yep, that totally makes sense to me. And so, you know, they have that to prove here today. And I like the trading that's going on in that lane. Speaking of which, Captain will go down on the Abrams there. So Abraham's getting some needed early W's as the pressure continues on the left side lane. Okay.
Not a good sign though. With the Abrams and the Page, it should be a pretty strong lane. Very difficult to actually push them out because the plot armor that comes through, the infernal resilience out of Abrams to just regen, and yet they've died now twice on that right hand side, really keeping Abrahams and OCs in particular, you know, going. Like together had a great parry onto Captain, allowed him to get that kill. As we transition to the left hand lane, we see a wall come out and Arzla being separated from his team once again. Here the bomb comes on through and Arzla's gonna take a butt load of damage here. It looks like he will survive for now, but just on very low HP.
And to be honest, you know, going for the kill here, it looks doable. Okay, I was going to say, even if they don't get the kill, it's an enormous victory because, okay, Deadlock comes in again for another gank here. They really want to make sure this McGinnis lane wins. And there is a potential counter gank from Taz, but because Deadlock's already here, it's like a 3v1 right now. This is not a good look there for the Holiday player. Taz coming in. But again, Jason, all that Leviathan want and need is to keep the other players off of the lane or low HP so that they can just continue to whittle down the Guardian and just get the Guardian down as quickly as possible. That's the only objective, I think, there.
What's funny is it didn't even look like they needed debuff there. He was just there as like a last second, you know, confirm. It seems like Overseas and Sana have that lane pretty well handed, pretty well locked down as they still continue to skirmish on that left hand side. And mid lane's been relatively quiet. It's just been Tass and Demov to rotate to the left lane, while Freemock is left to farm in middle, as well as Empty Dreams. But here we go, another fight. A parry comes on through. Overseas, she might fall from this one. I think they're just chasing down for a little bit of HP remaining. That's a deep dive coming in directly here out of Saint, looking for the slam. And they will get the kill, but they're still also not necessarily too safe here. Sonya is ready to just chase them down, both of them low on HP.
Yeah, very interesting early game so far. I think you got to give it to Abrahams. You said their early game is very good. Their objective really in this lane is to ensure that they don't allow a fast Guardian for their opponents. And so far, it's so good. Oh, there we go. Lasso comes on through. Courtesy of Taz. Mirage hard to lock down, but all the cooldowns here are unavailable. Although able to turn around there, and Demov with the helping hand, able to help confirm that kill onto Freemock, which does give the ability to double back here. And look at how many players are critically low. 4 players for Abrahams right now on the top left of the screen, insanely low on HP. Saint will go down, and the pressure comes back in onto this left side lane, which is so important for Leviathan. This one lane has to be a success. And oh my days, that is on like 10 HP.
The worst part of this, though, for Abrahams, if we talked about before Leviathan to have a strong early game, is that ours was being set, I feel like, so far behind. He's been killed off twice now, sent back to base again. They've lost their Guardian. He needs to catch up. He needs to farm up, more importantly. It's only a 2k difference, but we're used to seeing Arzo have a very strong early, mid game until he transitions to late game as that, like, really stalwart carry. But I guess one upside for them is that he might be having a bad game, but OC's isn't. 4.7k souls right now, leading his team currently just right behind Tass.
Yeah, definitely very important because Leviathan just got sort of that early game win condition, I suppose. It's something that they need is to get that first Guardian down to allow them to start tempoing. And we've got a lot of action around mid as well. As a result of this, Abrahams with 4 players here in mid looking to equalize the Guardian situation. A lot of pressure here for Leviathan to have to deal with. You get the Hyper Beam that comes out to be able to just zone away the Abrahams attackers. But again, they are investing 4 players in taking down that tower, and they are denied.
Yeah, Sonny's actually not here. He's just being left alone in the left lane and continue to farm up as the hook connects once again. Able to catch out Saint another time, but he's still going to be relatively fine here as the counter pressure's coming on through, and this Guardian's going to fall as well. So Leviathan will take down their second Guardian of the game here in just a few moments, and you know that third one on the right-hand side definitely going to be their next target.
Yeah, that was a great counter push there from Leviathan. You know, they just barely defended that mid tower. Big investment from Abrahams, and Abrahams walk away. I mean, they get good tower damage, but it doesn't fall. And now, as you say, Leviathan looking at that right side of the map. There's 3 players already there. And looks like in the meantime, Abrahams will quickly finish off the mid Guardian that was left weak, which is, I suppose, okay for Leviathan's perspective as they looked for a gank onto the right side. As Demov is going to find Saint there. And are they going to try to take down Saint? Pretty hard to lock down the Ivy. And so they're going to pull away from that right side lane, Leviathan, it seems, Jason.
For now, let's see if they continue to do so, because we hit the 8-minute mark. So Sinner is going to be up across the board, and you can already see the contest coming out of overseas to force out together, trying to take away and deny the double Sinners room, or as we used to call it, pudding. All the people who are fans of Night Shift way back then know exactly what I'm talking about. And we'll actually punish overseas for doing that. So good job by Abrahams to actually flex out in a very important moment to keep those Sinners alive, because we've seen quite a few games in these last weeks where the golden statue buffs were just the difference between teams was outstanding. Outstanding, that's not even the right word. It was devastating. It depends, I guess, on which way you're looking at it. So good, at least stop by Abrahams there to prevent that from happening, that snowball.
The macro from Abrahams here has been really, really powerful. Like, they were stealing the doubles when Leviathan were trying to push the right lane. That forced Leviathan to go back to try to defend the doubles. And now the Leviathan have lost all momentum that they got from that early mid counter push, because that Abrahams have sort of just outnumbered them in the right places across the map in mid and in this right side lane now. And they've been the ones, Abrahams, to take down their right side Guardians. So they've completely turned the tables here on the Leviathan side. So Leviathan will have to try to find some way back into this game, because right now it feels like the map is under the control of Abrahams.
Well, I believe with the way that Leviathan are using McGinnis within the hands of Sonya, it's going to be more of like a carry McGinnis than kind of like the rotate, take early Guardians and kind of be somewhat supporty. Because obviously with a Page on the team, why would McGinnis play support? So it's still going to be like that secondary M1 hero out of Mirage played by Empty Dreams, and Sonya to be I would imagine, the main M1 hero here, as it's been constantly farming this left-hand lane. 9.1k souls. Only OCs matches him currently, and he's been able to maintain this left lane extremely strong. We gotta give him a little bit of time though, and he's going to be a very strong presence later on this game, that if you're in the front lines against him, he is just going to melt you. Not himself. He's going to melt you.
Well, right now, you know, it looks like it might be a free earn turn in for Abrahams. That's going to be carried across by Together on this Billy. Really important. Again, with all the Billy I've been playing, I feel like you're really hungry for those earns a lot of the time. You know, Billy's a pretty, efficient jungle farmer. It's nice to get him into a spot where he's going to be strong in the souls. Now the pressure comes in onto this right side Walker. Ooh. Good catch coming in from Taz. Wow, no chance to escape.
Great job baiting the riposte. Just seeing it the lasso off with no problem. Really shows mastery out of Holiday here at the task. As he comes back in once again here, looking for some more players. And it's going to be Together kind of alone. Does have OCs there to back him up. Looks like they actually will just be defended and pushed back away from this Walker. And really, there's no chance they're going to be going for a kill there. But here we go, Sonya now. Look at the damage he's able to do. Walls off. Stoneform's going to be there. But he's already done a ton of damage here to Saint. And he's not really too afraid of this 1v2. He does have a little bit of backup out of the Guardian to help keep himself extra healthy here and to force them away. But like, look at the damage he's already able to do. He's got Bullet Lifesteal, weakening headshots on top of this, and monster rounds, and intensifying. I just don't really feel like you're going to shove him out of this lane.
They're going to be diving on top of it, though, and largely staying out of line of sight. Here we go, finally. Looking to try to use all that farm to advantage. Strongest player on the server. And, okay, we're going to be getting an ultimate there from Apollo. Abrahams will back away from that fight. In the meantime, they will be diving on top of that right side Walker. Oh, good catch there. The last second from the chain gang. That will surely seal the fate. Surely seal the fate. You're going to dive for it, and there we go. It's going to happen. Kill confirmed onto overseas via Together. He's gonna is he gonna pay? I don't know if he's gonna pay a price. He's still alive. Escaping into the basement to sewers.
Oh, he got caught. I mean, sure,
a bit of lifesteal because of the 3 there as well. The blasted. Oh man, and that was off of the slam. God, I keep forgetting all the names.
The bash down.
There you go, bash down. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm having a tough time today as well for some reason. But Son is not having too tough of a time here. They would consistently force them back. He's actually rotate on towards the right-hand lane. So finally, they freed him up out of the left-hand side, taking him out of the left lane jail, and unleashed him onto the right lane with the Unstable Rift to take down the last Guardian of the game here for Abrahams to defend. I mean, you start looking at, I think, OCs in particular. Arzo obviously is going to be out of the game for quite a while. He needs to, get some solo farm here. But OC's been really a diamond for this team so far at 12k souls. It's really putting out a lot of pressure and a lot of damage, but I just don't think OC's matches up well against Sonya. Like, I think Sonya's just going to overwhelm him in damage and sustain if they ever get into 1v1. Yeah, maybe OC's can escape because it's Lash, but I don't really feel like you're going to have a chance to kill him 1v1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic play out. I wonder what happened to Irizumi, because Irizumi has been very far behind on the overall farm. And yes, you know, playing the Page, playing more of a supportive role in the team, but at the same time, just like really kind of further behind than you would actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think just your abilities are so important as Page. I actually want to see what items Irizumi has picked up, as a Death Stem's going to net them a kill, and probably not a kill in the Demoff here. A little bit too much to ask for when he has the security of his Walker. But the left lane, get another skirmish in the jungle. We talked about Irizumi's being pushed back by Saint. Narzo's rotating on in, and honestly, Leviathan might have gotten a little bit too deep here. But they're still looking for Saint somehow. He's low HP, going to airdrop himself away though.
I will say, one thing about Page, that's always been the case, is that Page is like squishy and her mobility kind of sucks. And when you're playing against, you know, a Drifter, an Ivy, a Billy, a Holiday, a Lash, like everyone can chase you down. Oh my god. Stuck in the corner. We're seeing the full potential of the Bebop McGinnis combo now. And we're going to get also the Plot Armor to come in to try to finish this one off. Surely this is going to get confirmed. Oh my god. Able to get away just barely with the heal. Unbelievable there.
Oh.
In comes the Stampede. And finally, Demov is able to finish it off with the chase.
And the rallying charge coming on through to give info exactly where Together is going to be. Not going to escape this time like he did before on the other side of the map. Now with Sonya, are they actually going to push this one? They do have a wave coming on through. They have to be careful. There's too much wave coming on the other side. They're going to have to give this one up here. As the next urn has spawned on in here on the right-hand side of the map, and it is able to be taken by Abrahams if they want to go for it. But Together, as you mentioned, typically the one to carry the urn across, and he has been sent back to spawn. It's a little bit of a lull in action here, but we do have to take stock of things, as we do have a 7,000 lead for Abrahams. We talked before, Dan, about Leviathan. They have a good comp for being strong early, but being down 6k at this point, did they create the lead in the beginning that they needed to? I'm not so sure. I mean, yeah, Sonya has 16,000 souls, but the rest of his team is quite poor.
Yeah, Abrahams are just... Interestingly, Leviathan got out macroed pretty quickly by Abrahams. We'll talk more about that perhaps in a bit. We do have the pressure here from Abrahams on this left side lane. At the same time, they're pressuring the right side lane as well, so forcing Leviathan to defend here. And, I mean, McGinnis definitely good at defending. There is some damage being put down onto Demov from up high. And we'll get the escape here, you know, showing one just fantastic use of the drop there for Ivy. Like a drop ship from StarCraft.
Yeah, that is very true. I do worry, though. Disarming Hex and Rusted Barrels. This Captain gets lasted to his death. One really easy way to shut down Sonya. So Dispel Magic needs to come online to cleanse those away so we can continue to pump out damage. Because if you just like cycle any sort of you know, anti-shooting mechanism against him, McGinnis really won't do that much damage. It's not like you have abilities to back up on to do damage with. At least too much damage, like for instance Lash on the other side.
Yeah, and an interesting spot here for Abrahams. Maybe getting a little bit too deep. Sandy Sniper on the other end of things. Should be able to finish off Fremok. He does go down on the Drifter. So a trade, though, given that Simply Dreams will die for Leviathan at the same time. And Demov now putting the pressure onto Taz. Taz has been having his way with pretty much everybody. Looks like Demov will regret that one. As his right side Walker is still under pressure. And the numbers game here is not very good. This is a big problem right now for Leviathan. Captain is I mean, you're tanky on the Abrahams, but it's a pretty scary situation. It looks like he's going to be able to intimidate them. They will fall back. But in the meantime, Together just really being able to run down the server. And I mean, Together's on 14k, looking pretty strong in the Billy. But then you look at OCs and Taz, 19k, 18k. These guys are really, really strong right now.
Headed to blue.
So you traded a winning lane for Leviathan left side, and you gave over a winning lane to OCs on the right-hand side, and it comes down to what impact is going to be had from that. Can we actually maybe get a look at our damage per souls, or per 1k souls? I'm curious to see the breakdown here. I would imagine Together is going to be quite high. The last time we looked at player damage, it was pretty equal here. And Overseas is actually currently at 1k. I mean, kind of makes sense. He's only at 12,000 souls, one of the lowest earners of his team at the moment. Saint, quite surprised, only at 300. And I feel like he's been mostly playing, you know, babysitting duty for Arzo for the most part, just to catch him back up in this game.
There you go, top 3 for Together, and then you have Taz on number 2, despite being one of the richest players on the server. That just really goes to show how impactful Taz has been. And speak of the devil, he shall appear, just abducting FC Dreams, and it's just there's no way to get out of that one. Even with the tornado, you can't escape it. Holiday, I feel like very, very strong. Maybe undervalued a little bit here and there over the last few weeks, but still being proven by Taz here to be just a premium pick, a top 3 pick actually in the draft for Abrahams.
Yeah, that Veil Walker's putting in some work too. Didn't even see that coming for Empty Dreams. He gets caught out. And now they're just trying to run away. It's, I mean, 2 players running away pretty much just from Sonya alone. And together, well, he's going to take down a Walker here in the mid lane. And the first Walker of the game gets airdropped away as well. And yeah, this has been Saint's job, and maybe why he does have such low damage. He's just babysitting everyone on the team. You're in a bad place, I'll airdrop you out. You need some assistance, I'll give you the Watcher's Covenant, like, or the Kutsu Connection. Like, I'll support you, and he's really living up to that role for the team at the moment that they need.
And speaking of which, we've also got OCs now looking to get that pressure on the Walker, and the problem now is that even though the soul differential is not too high, it's like this mobility that allows this pressure game to be so good. Speaking of which, Sonya Sniper applies the pressure to the life drain here. Oh, this could really convert though, because you get the confidence after the ultimate from the Geist there, but now you're in trouble. Also, will look to escape here. Is there a way to catch this kill? That would be really, really nice. Counterplay coming on top of Irezumi there, trying to be able to escape off of this page. So pitiful, the mobility on page, but manages to get out of that spot. A bother.
Yeah, and then they did get the kill on the free mock, and we're looking for more here. As Sonya got extremely low with the swap. And it wasn't low enough, and it pretty much just turned into ours. They're just trying to escape. But again, I feel like losing one player and escaping is still extremely important for them. The Urn spawns on that side of the map anyways, so they have that to use. Still only sitting on a 9k lead, but again, I still feel like that's a favorable lead at the moment, considering I feel like Leviathan in the next maybe even less than 5 minutes are going to start to fall off, because most of the fight that's been happening here, Dan, has just been grouping out of Abrahams. They're not really allowing themselves to get picked. If anything, it's actually Leviathan are the ones getting picked.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the tools here for Abrahams really, really good, and I mean, I think a large part of it is just the cross-map pressure that we've had from Abrahams. They've been working the macro game so incredibly well. Big pressure on the left side of the map. Speaking of macro, from Leviathan onto that left side Walker. This is being answered though by several players here for Abrahams. I don't know how well this is going for Abrahams on the defense though. Looks like you're seeing the power of McGinnis finally looking to convert onto this Walker. And in fact, the push is going to be reinforced by another player, but at the same time, they may lose Leviathan, their Walker on the right side, because there are a couple players there that are chasing down Empty Dreams at the moment as we continue to see the action here, the counter push from Abrahams on this left side. There's a lot of players invested for Leviathan, and they are losing them here, Jason.
Some big damage, a big focus on Asanya, and that was the response. You asked, can the Abrahams defend against this? But the push comes in, the Eternal Knight out of free mock into the airdrop to just shove him straight into Sonya Sniper's face, blows him up immediately, and that opens up a mid-boss take here for Abrahams as well. No Eternal Asana to shut this one down, or at least to prevent this from happening. So Abraham's going to get a massive lead off this, not to mention a 20k lead here. And just the flick of a switch. It was just that one fight that happened here on this left-hand side that gave him complete control of this game so far.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, this game, I mean, the standouts to me have certainly been Taz, number 1, and then OC's number 2 from Abrahams, just doing an incredible job with these high mobility heroes. And now with the rejuice in tow as well, you don't, it's hard to imagine how Leviathan can kind of turn this game around. I think you said in the draft that you liked Abrahams for the late game, so they just have to make it there. Well, you could maybe argue that they didn't come out ahead in the early game, didn't come out too far behind, but they certainly came out ahead in the mid game here, looking dominant Abrahams.
Yeah, we're in the end game now. I feel like with the way Abrahams are playing, just constantly getting catches, even potential another one here with a nice use of the rescue beam to pull Empty Dreams away. It doesn't seem to matter. Task goes in deep, gets Phantom Struck and charged into the wall. But it seems like he hit a parry here to turn things around on the Captain, but they continue to go for the chase. There's still 3 reaches left, so taking crystals would be huge, but the right-hand side is being pushed. They're going to lose another Walker for this. And if they can't chase anyone Abrahams down, it's a net negative for Leviathan.
Yeah, there's been such an imbalance in terms of Leviathan, let's say, have been much more efficient in the numbers that they use around the map. So if they're going to pressure a lane, the response has to be greater than what is invested by Abrahams for the pressure. So it's just a fundamentally efficient trades on map pressure constantly the entire game from Abrahams. And I think that's been what's been so impressive, I think, because now obviously that's going to be the case because they're so far ahead. But they were doing this when you know, again, they'd come out of being slightly behind in the early game. They were making those trades happen, and that's how they got to this position. So I almost wouldn't even say it's got an enormous amount to do with the draft, Jason. I think we're just seeing something that we credit Abrahams for a lot is just their game smarts, their team play on the macro picture of the game, just knowing how to get the edges there.
There's still a difference. I mean, we can see it was bouncing back and forth between the two in the first, let's see, half. I'd say like first 10-ish minutes, maybe just slightly under 10 minutes of the game. And then just explosive lead was taken out of Abrahams, and they're showing no signs of stopping here. I mean, OCs continue to get more and more fed. Sonya is kind of still being shut down here. I mean, look what he's doing against Together. Pretty much nothing. His Metal Skin's been bought up. He gets thrown back into the mix here. As Sonya somehow is still alive as they're just continuing to fight under this Walker. It might cost him a rejuve, though. Together needs to go down. So it's 30 seconds left on the rejuve charges remaining. Speaking of going down, Sonya quickly falls. Captain just charges his way to safety. And this is going to be another Walker falling.
Yeah, not looking good. Not looking good here at all. Abraham's running over this objective with ease. Overwhelming things. I mean, there's somewhat of a push from Empty Dreams on the right side of the map. Looks pretty free. I will see how far he can get actually with that. I would imagine there's some boosts, zip boosts available for Abrahams. And if not, can Empty Dreams kill this Walker quickly enough? I mean, this is really the only counterplay that they have here. You're actually happy to die for this if it's even possible to get it. I don't know that it's going to be possible here. Oh, actually, I mean, with the Jin's Mark, actually, we could get a big pop there. Might be doable, but you're certainly going to be trading your life for this one. But you're going to lose some base Guardians on the other side of the map at the same time. And TP activated, so actually gets out.
Yeah, but that's, to me, that's just like the best thing you can get out of a worst case scenario here for them. Like, yeah, you take the Walker, but you lost 2 Walkers for yourselves. You lost more and more of you become in more and more of a soul deficit. I mean, you're 31k now between the two when it was around 25k when the mid boss was taken. I mean, don't get me wrong, he gets something, which is very, very important for them. It unlocks a flex slot as well, but your team is falling further behind right now, and that's kind of the problem. I mean, oh my god, even Spirit Burn being picked up for TAS. I would not be surprised right now if TAS has the most damage in the game.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I would imagine that's probably a good call. And yeah, just been running the show right now. Not too much for Leviathan to really do at this point. Again, I mean, oh, go ahead.
I will say that like Holiday does fall off a little bit in terms of like your pick potential, because like again the enemy team is going to be grouped up, but the raw damage you do I feel like just doesn't really fall off too much, especially if you're picking up things like Spirit Burn, and he's still able to get catches. This time an Irazumi. I mean, look where the position on the map is of these teams. Like Leviathan is actually in enemy territory, and the Abrahams are going to let them take this rift and then go for the big fight off the back of this. This is Leviathan being sent home. This should be Shrines coming through.
Yeah, certainly. There's a chain gang coming on through here from Together, trying to be a problem. Or actually was going to deny some of that, but is it going to matter? We're going to get the bash downs coming on forwards, and it is looking quite painful here. Just an immovable object charging your way, and that's going to open things up here on this left lane to start marching into the base here. Empty Dreams to double tornado, still going to get death slammed. You can't escape. Oh, okay, we're actually going to be able to get a counter spell, that must have been, to block the death slam, but the end result is the same. Death and more death here for Leviathan, as Demov is the only player left standing. Can't do anything about losing probably either of these shrines. We're going to get a drop, just like you said, on the patron as well.
I mean, you see how they're dealing with Sonya. Together gets in his face. They have Disarming Hex for him. They have Metal Skins to deal with him. Together's job, it feels like, is to just stay in his face and not allow him to sit in the back, acting as a human turret, putting out tons of damage. And they've dealt with like the carrying potential out of McGinnis. Like they dealt with the ace up the sleeve for Leviathan, and Leviathan have no answer for it. I mean, Demov is he's not effective. He's at 22,000 souls. He's the lowest on the team. Well, he's not technically not lowest, but like him and Overseas are extremely low on souls. What is a 23k Apollo supposed to do against a 34k Holiday or a 36k Lash? And you can see here, like Overseas and TAS are going head to head to compete for who has the most damage on their team.
Yeah, for me, again, I feel like we saw such a great performance from the team from a macro point of view, but if I'm thinking about the individuals, I've really felt like Taz was so difficult to deal with. Just abducting people, really maximizing this lasso. That's probably the only one that he missed. I feel like.
But look at that. He almost kills Empty Dreams with just one barrel. Like Spirit Burn proccing plus the barrel. Empty Dreams was dropped below half HP.
Yeah, I can't even take part in the fight anymore.
Pull back.
complete map dominance at the moment here for the Abraham side. Mid-boss must surely be spawning soon. Oh, wow.
Counterspelled the Phantom Strike.
The presence of mind to pop the parry as he's flying over the fence there. Is that still a fence? It looks like a fence. I don't know, like those tall metal pointy ones. Are they still fences?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe in England you have a different name for them. I think we just call them fences.
Nice. Oh, mid-boss is up. It's not even necessary, I think, Jason. This is looking like Abraham's going to have a good time with this team fight. Chain Gang comes out once again. We'll get the captivating read there to maybe make things a little bit more complicated for the Billy.
They are throwing everything on Sonya. Cursed Relic into a disarm. Metal Skin was up for it together. Sonya doesn't have mobility. He doesn't have a way to escape this, and he cannot run away from the entire squad coming his way. He can't do anything. They're completely counterbot him, and he has no chance to do damage in these fights. And another last are going to connect here at a task.
Yeah, M-Streams can't do a single thing. Okay, everybody's dead. Everybody's dead. Looks like we're going to be out of this one now very, very shortly as Abraham's just take down the right side shrine. I don't think there's really much of a reason for them to leave the base unless they would want to go back to mid-boss and then come back and finish the game. Or just finish the game, you know, just they have both options available to them. Because look how long everybody's dead for. Okay, so they're gonna do both, I think, here. They're gonna get the drop and the regis at the same time here, Jason.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a best of one, right? You don't want to throw this away. You don't want to throw your chance to play against Buff Enjoyers to win your chunk of the $4,000 prize pool brought to us by Intel Gamer Days. And of course, Curry's here. Been great to have them along so far, and hope to see them again in the future. I mean, I'm acting like it's done, but we have 4 weeks of this.
Yeah. I do love, by the way, that the troopers got left to having the glory. They didn't have any hero assist there. It's just the troopers that took down this first stage patron. You gotta empower the little troopers. Make them feel good.
Yeah, you gotta give them a win once in a while.
They're working hard out there.
Don't you dare take me to the bear pit.
Man, they're just taking everything on the map, Jason. We'll get all the buffs, we'll get the urn, we'll get, push all the lanes.
Just breaking the urn to their base.
Yeah.
Just to taunt them. Okay, special start here. Gets a catch onto Sonya. Or not Sonya, onto Tass. Even knockdown being thrown on him, but again, he's not too worried. Goes back, and once again, OCs takes down Sonya again. Their biggest carry for the team. Has no chance to survive these fights, and Death Slam's coming up in just 10 seconds of time. Well, the Archmother has just one phase left. Like, this is going to be the game done, and Abraham's will get their birth once again. They will lose one Reju. It's Fremont. He's allowed. But it doesn't matter, because they've won the game here. It's over, Dan.
Yeah, they're trying to dive in to make sure that it'll take a few more seconds longer, but there we go. Death Slam ready, off the rip, and goodbye, Paige. Oh, poor Izumi. Not had a fun game here, but for Abraham's, it's been an absolute clinic of Deadlock. Macro, the individual play was fantastic as well. They look like they are in great shape here for what is now going to be the best of 3 upcoming against Buff Enjoyers.
Yeah, and we had questions obviously with those in the team. How are they going to adapt? He played really well on Lash. He also had a sub in Fremont instead of Shark, who couldn't play today, and he played well on top of that. Team looks good. Team looks ready, but I still have to say this, Dan, and I don't mean any disrespect to Leviathan, but Buff Enjoyers are on a whole nother level compared to Leviathan of what we've been seeing these last weeks, especially when they're able to field their entire squad. So the battle might be done, but the war's not over here for Abrahams.
Yeah, certainly not, and it's going to be really fun to see them in this shape against their opponents, Buff Enjoyers, because with OGs on the team, I mean, we had a great performance from him here on Lash, and that's something that's interesting, right? Because we saw that Sonya Sniper, who was replaced, I suppose, with OCs, one of the things that Sonya flexed onto so effectively was a Lash away from some of these more hardcore M1 carries. And OCs puts on an incredible showing here on Lash throughout this game. Again, I think, an honorable mention between him and Tass, I think both doing similar jobs, being really, really mobile across the map and finding amazing picks, great pressure, and just enabling the initiations for their team to get ahead. And I think it really created there's too many problems across the map at once for Leviathan to deal with. And I think that's some of that mobility diff that was so effectively applied by the likes of OCs and Taz especially, and Saint. I think Saint, honorary mention there with all of the drops that he was using, because that fast repositioning makes a big difference.
Playing that babysitter role. I mean, yeah, it worked out, as you're saying. You also picked up Disarming Hex to shut down Sonya relatively early, and I think that's maybe the difference when it comes into later stages of the game, that a Lash, I feel like, will just kind of outperform a McGinnis. Like, Lash has mobility to get away. He doesn't need to continue to M1 you to do damage. He has Ground Strike for this. He has Flog. He has his Deathslam to set up fights. And as we saw multiple times for Sonya, if it wasn't being shut down by like abilities, right, like Disarming Hex or Cursed Relic or whatever it might be, he was being shut down by just the overwhelming presence of Abraham's and getting in his face. He had no escape. He has no protection. He has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and has a chain gang to just pull him out of position every time.
Yeah, what a phenomenal sequence here from OCs as well on the Lash. I think, like, just as you were saying, the Lash versus the McGinnis comparison, I think you're just really seeing why Lash has been so difficult to deal with. Just the consistent damage output and the presence of sort of this like gun hybrid Lash that's been really effective. Again, OCs is really embodying that and showing us why it's so good. And I'm really curious, like, how will that affect the drafting phase going into our final matchup? But here we can take a look now at the statistics. Sometimes the game doesn't give us the data, I guess, that we need on the back end. It's a little bit slow, and so we have the more basic stats here. But anything that you're liking on this page, Jason?
Well, I think the API is just busy looking at the great deals for the Intel Gamer Days. That's probably why they haven't given us the data that we need to formulate our own graphic here. But I mean, 45,000 damage for Tass. That's ridiculous. He had 0 deaths. OC's had 0 deaths as well. They played so stupendously together, and across the board, there were constant threats. If it wasn't a Lasso you had to worry about, it was a Deathslam you had to worry about. And even together, I kind of the unsung hero, I'd say, for the team, because he went 5-2 and 22. But he was just always there. Like, he was always assisting. He was being the front line and itemizing the way they needed to shut down Sana. He had a Disarming Hex. He had Metal Skin. Saint had Disarming Hex. They had 2 Cursed Relics as well. Like, they had a game plan and they executed perfectly. They knew exactly what Leviathan were trying to do and gave Sonya no chance to play.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the stats page, I mean, it definitely did not look like a fun game, but it seems like such a truly miserable game now, looking at the stats page. The fact that both OCs and Taz did not die is insane when you consider how active they were in getting. I mean, they were the 2 most active players in terms of finding these picks and initiations for the most part. So, phenomenal performance indeed. I don't know that there's anything necessarily else to talk about. We did mention that we wanted to see the build from Irizumi. It just kind of looks like the bog standard support build overall. So nothing. I don't think there's anything that really stand out there at all.
Yeah, I agree. And looking over at Sonya as well, because we've seen a couple of different McGinnises being built over the course of the last weeks when McGinnis has had to rise to the ranks. I mean, Bullet Lifesteal, Fleetfoot, of course, is really good. Escalating Resilience as well is really good against this team, so you can kind of have lasting power in the fights. Even Inhibitor being thrown in for some extra survivability. But as we saw, survivability was nothing Sonya, I feel like, could itemize for when Abrahams were specifically countering him with everything they picked up and a lot of the heroes that they had too.
Yeah, really, really good performances here. I do wonder how this is going to impact the draft. Like I said, Lash looking fantastic. Taz on holiday looking like a problem as well. So that's going to make things really, really interesting. But yeah, I don't think there's too much else to say in terms of this stat sheet. We have our MVP next, right?
Yeah, we got to see who our MVP is going to be. I made my selection. I know you didn't make your selection, but I also don't think you're going to disagree with me at any point when it comes to that selection. And maybe we can throw it up on the screen here if production's ready, because there's a lot of clips to choose from for this person. Or maybe I'll just wait and let people wonder who it's going to be.
we just go on pause here. Yeah, I would imagine that you probably picked, if I had to guess, I would imagine Taz. I think that's like the obvious pick. I mean, even the game gave him the MVP, but there we go. The Curry's player of the match is indeed Taz. Got the cowboy hat, you've got the revolver, but really, it's what's in those barrels. I think it's just where some of the magic came.
I think he like only missed one last set that we caught on stream, and that was like right after you said something about him too. So we kind of like commentator cursed him, but like just all these lassos, being able to be so consistent is so important for any holiday player. but also like great use of the barrels, great use of the jump pads as well. Using Veil Walker extremely well to catch empty dreams here, but also like the time he gets him around a corner, so he has to use like double Dust Devil to get away, and then just throws a barrel on the exact location he uses to come out. Like Task was killing it, man. And this is, I don't know if it's ban worthy necessarily going to the next matchup against Buff Enjoyers, but it's something you're gonna have to respect.
Yeah, totally. Especially as it was a top 3 for Abraham, so it does definitely show you that they value this really highly, and I mean you can certainly see why. So it's going to be very, very fun to see how that plays out. But yeah, phenomenal performance. Really seeing just excellent mobility and comfort there. The lassos, like you say, time and again, proving to be just hellish to deal with, especially for empty dreams. Typically, you think Mirage is amazing because he's so hard to lock down. Like, you know, he's just double tornado away and you're fine. But that wasn't the case here. You know, Taz had the answer.
He had the answer, and he had everything going for him. Just like you guys at home who didn't know, Intel Gamer Days is now taking place from now up until September 13th, where you guys can type !IGD in the chat, and you can pick up some games, Tomb Raider, Legacy of Atlantis, and Star Wars Galactic Racer with any purchase of a qualifying Intel product. So make sure you guys check this out and check out all the deals Intel has for you during these Gamer Days up till September 13th. And you know what? I think I might need to play these games. I was a big pod racer guy back in the day. I think it was on the N64, so I'm always about this Galactic Racer type game.
Yeah, and I mean Lara Croft.
And you look
OG.
good in a Lara Croft cosplay, so it's like perfect.
I mean, it's cool, man. If you were there at the beginning too, like you've just seen the slow addition of more and more polygons there for Lara Croft, looking very different than she used to. But yeah, very awesome to see Tomb Raider still a thing. Now, I can only hope that Deadlock has as strong as of a legacy, but I'm confident, Jason.
If we were to do a skin in Deadlock from Tomb Raider,
it's got to be Holiday,
what
right?
hero would get it?
It's got to be Holiday, right?
Not Hayes? Because you dual wield guns?
I don't know. Yeah, actually, that'd be such an interesting question for the community. We'll have to make some kind of a poll.
You know what? We can do that for chat. So we have to head to a break while we get things ready to go for our next series. But you can let us know in chat, who do you think would make the perfect skin or the hero for the skin of Tomb Raider for Lara Croft? Let us know your answers in chat, and we'll be back after a break here with our best of 3 winners match in the EU Deadlock Night Shift.